Heatsink draws heat away from the source before the component burns. The processor runs hot, but the heatsink absorbs the excess temperature and dissipates it before the system overheats. You have been running hot. The processor of your mind has been overheating for months. Tonight, God is the heatsink. The excess heat transfers to Him, and the system cools. If this sound reached your heart, hit subscribe. More music like this drops every week. A heatsink sits on top of the processor and draws the heat away. The metal fins absorb the excess temperature before the system overheats and the burn. And God placed a heatsink over your life. The mind has been running hot, processing grief, processing fear, processing everything. And the heatsink absorbs before the turn. The heatsink says the processor doesn't need to slow down. The heatsink handles the excess, and the system that should have overheated runs because the heat transfer and the churn. Come to me, all who are weary and heavy laden, and the rest is the heatsink. The transfer of excess heat from the processor to the one who absorbs and learns. Your processor has been running hot for months, the temperature rising, but the heatsink just made contact and the excess heat transfers because the metal fins absorb and the burn. And the heatsink says the system runs, the processor keeps working, but the heat that would have destroyed the component transfers to the sink. And the concern, come to me, all who are weary. The heatsink absorbs tonight, and the processor that was overheating just transferred the excess to the one who dissipates the heat in the light. The heatsink draws the heat away from the processor before the system burns, because the excess temperature transfers to the metal that absorbs. The heatsink, the mind that was overheating, just made contact with the sink, and the temperature drops because the heat moves to the orbs. Come to me weary, the heatsink, and the rest is the transfer of excess from the source to the absorber and the verbs. The heatsink, and the God who absorbs excess heat just drew the temperature away from my processor, and the system cools on the herbs. The heatsink cooled Elijah. The processor of ministry was overheating, but the cave, the bread, the sleep were the fins that absorbed the excess heat and the peace. The heatsink cooled David. The processor of kingship was burning, but the Psalms were the fins that drew the heat away before the system crashed and the release. The heatsink cooled Jesus. Gethsemane was the processor overheating, but the angel who strengthened was the heatsink that absorbed before the cross and the crease. And the heatsink says every cool processor in the Bible had a heatsink, because God doesn't let the system burn. He absorbs the excess before the cease. Your heatsink is in contact, the fins are drawing, and the temperature that was climbing just started dropping, because the heat transfers to the God who absorbs and releases. The heatsink says the processor runs, keep processing, but the excess heat is mine to absorb, and the system that should have burned is cooling, and the peace. The heatsink processor cools because the excess transfers to the absorber. The heat sink, the system runs because the heat sink handles what the processor can't. And the harbor, running out heat transfers. The sink absorbs what the system masters. Temperature drops, system cools. The heat sink breaks the rules. Oh, the heat sink! The processor was burning, but the heat transferred and the temperature drops because the god who absorbs excess drew the heat away before the crash. The heat sink and the god who is the heat sink just made contact with my overheating mind, and the excess temperature is dissipating when the flash from every overheating season, not knowing the heat sink was available to absorb the excess before the system burned and the clash. The heat sink absorbs and the processor cools and the system runs because the heat that should have destroyed me transferred to his hands and the ash. The heat sink, the heat sink, the system cools.
A prism takes white light and splits it into every color. The light enters as one beam and exits as a spectrum, because the prism reveals what was always inside the light. And God is running your life through a prism. What entered as one undifferentiated experience exits as a spectrum of purpose, because the prism separates what was hidden in the white. The prism says the colors were always in the light, the red, the blue, the green, the gold, but they were invisible until the prism separated them into sight. The manifold wisdom of God, and the manifold is the spectrum, the many colors hidden in the single beam that the prism reveals, one wavelength at a time. In the might, your experience entered as white light, one undifferentiated season, but the prism just split it, and the colors that were hidden inside are now visible and bright. And the prism says what looked like one thing was actually many things, and the spectrum that exits the prism is the revelation of what was always inside the light. The manifold wisdom of God, the prism splits tonight, and the single beam of experience just revealed a spectrum of purpose, because the colors were always inside the light. The prism, the light entered as one beam but exits as a spectrum, because the colors were always inside. And the prism revealed what was hidden. The prism, what looked like one undifferentiated season, is actually many colors of purpose, and the splitting is the wisdom forbidden. Manifold wisdom, the prism, and the spectrum that appears when the light passes through is the revelation of what was always present and the hidden. The prism, and the God who reveals spectrums just split the white light of my experience, and the colors are more beautiful than the single beam and the bidden. The prism split Joseph's light, one beam of suffering entered, and the spectrum of provision, leadership, forgiveness exited, because the prism revealed the colors and the grade. The prism split Ruth's light, one beam of grief entered, and the spectrum of loyalty, love, lineage exited, because the prism revealed the hidden spectrum and the lay. The prism split Paul's light, one beam of persecution entered, and the spectrum of epistles, churches, theology exited, because the prism separated what the single beam made. And the prism says every revealed spectrum in the Bible came from a single beam that looked like one thing but contained multitudes, because the colors were always inside and the trade. Your prism is splitting the light, the single experience is revealing colors, and the spectrum that appears is more diverse and beautiful than the white beam ever displayed. just showed you what was hiding in the ordinary and the braid. Oh,
The prism,
one beam enters and the spectrum exits, because the colors were always inside,
waiting for the prism
to reveal them.
The prism,
The manifold wisdom appears when the light splits,
and the single experience.
reveals its hidden spectrum of purpose, and the stem.
White light enters,
Colors exit
the prism reveals.
what was implicit,
Red, blue, gold, green.
hidden
The
inside.
prism
Is God's divine. The white light just split, and the spectrum of colors that was hidden inside the single beam is now visible, because the prism revealed what was always there.
The prism,
And the God who reveals spectrums just showed me the colors inside my experience. And what looked like one thing is actually many beautiful things. And the prayer from every single beam I dismissed as ordinary, not knowing the colors inside were waiting for the prism to split and the flare.
the prism,
Split the light and the spectrum is visible, and the colors are the purpose,
the wisdom,
the beauty that the single beam always carried. And the stair,
the prism, the prism,
the colors were always inside. Fault tolerance. Fault tolerance is a system designed to keep running. Even when a component fails, the server doesn't crash, because the backup takes over before the failure reaches the user. And God built fault tolerance into your life. The failure was real, the component broke, but the system kept running, because the backup activated before the crash reached the future. The fault tolerance says the failure didn't destroy the system. The system was designed to absorb the failure and switch to the backup without the user knowing. And the suture: a righteous man falls 7 times and rises, and the rising is the fault tolerance, the backup that activates when the primary fails. And the nurture: your component failed, the mistake, the sin, the weakness, but the system kept running, because the fault tolerance switched to the backup before the failure reached the structure. And the fault tolerance says the system was designed to survive failure, not by preventing it, but by absorbing it and switching to the backup and the manufacture. A righteous man falls 7 times and rises. The fault tolerance activates tonight, and the system that should have crashed kept running, because the backup took over
before the failure reached the light.
The fault tolerance,
Component failed,
but the system runs,
because the backup activated
before the crash
reached the user.
and the mission. The fault tolerance
Designed to absorb failure,
not prevent it,
and the switch to backup happens
seamlessly,
because the system
anticipated the condition. Fall 7 Fault tolerance saved Peter. The primary of bold faith failed at the denial, but the backup of restoration activated, and the system ran stronger in the core. The fault tolerance saved Jonah. The primary of obedience failed at the port, but the backup of the fish activated, and the mission continued to the shore. The fault tolerance saved Mark. The primary of courage failed on the first mission trip, but the backup of maturity activated, and the gospel was written in the more. And the fault tolerance says every running system in the Bible survived a component failure, because God designs for the fall, not just the soul. Your fault tolerance just activated. The primary failed, yes, but the backup is running, and the system didn't crash, because the design included the failure before the door. The fault tolerance says the failure is absorbed, the backup runs, and the system that survives the broken component is the system God designed before the floor. The fault tolerance, the failure happened, but the system runs, because the backup took over, and the design included the fall. The fault tolerance designed for failure, not against it, and the system runs, because the backup answers the call. Component fails, backup runs, the system holds what the failure shuns. Designed to absorb, not to prevent. The fault tolerance is heaven sent. The fault tolerance, the component failed, but the system is running, because the backup activated, and the design anticipated the failure before it happened. The fault tolerance, and the God who designs for failure just switched to the backup, and the crash that should have ended, everything was absorbed, and the flattened became the strengthened. From every failure I thought was the end, not knowing the fault tolerance was switching to the backup, and the system would keep running, and it happened. The fault tolerance absorbed the failure, and the backup runs, and the system is stronger, because the design included the fall and the enlightened. The fault tolerance, the fault tolerance, the system still runs.
A surge tank absorbs the sudden spike in pressure that would burst the pipes. The system runs smoothly most of the time, but the surge comes without warning, and the tank that absorbs the spike is the reason the pipes don't explode tonight. God is the surge tank. The spike hit, but the tank absorbed it before the pipes could burst. Stay. The best song on this album is still ahead. Subscribe so you never miss one. A surge tank sits in the system and waits, absorbs nothing during normal flow. But when the pressure spikes, the tank expands and catches the excess before the pipes explode. And God is the surge tank in the pipeline of your life. The normal pressure was manageable, but the spike came without warning, and the tank absorbed what would have corroded. The surge tank says the system wasn't designed for constant pressure spikes. The pipes offer normal flow, but the tank between the spike and the pipe
is the episode. He is a refuge in times of trouble, and the refuge is the surge tank, the expansion that absorbs the spike before the system overloads on the road. Your pressure spiked, the crisis came sudden, but a surge tank expanded and caught the excess before the pipes in your life burst and the abode. And the surge tank says the spike is temporary. The tank absorbs the excess, and the system returns to normal flow, because the surge was caught before the pipes could erode. He is a refuge in times of trouble. The surge tank absorbs tonight, and the precious spike that would have burst the pipes was caught by the tank before the damage in the light. The surge tank, the spike hit, but the tank absorbed the excess pressure before the pipes could burst, and the system survived the sudden overload. The surge tank, designed for the crisis, not the normal, and the expansion that caught the spike is the reason the pipeline holds. And the code, a refuge in trouble, the surge tank. And the God who absorbs spikes just expanded, and the pressure that should have burst the system was caught before it showed. The surge tank, and the God who is the surge tank, just absorbed the spike, and the pipes are intact, and the system runs because the excess found a place to unload. The surge tank absorbed for Israel at the Red Sea, the precious spike of the army behind. But the tank of the parted water absorbed the crisis, and the pipes held in the way. The surge tank absorbed for Daniel in the den, the precious spike of the lions. But the tank of the sealed mouths absorbed the crisis before the pipes could fray. The surge tank absorbed for Shadrach in the furnace, the precious spike of the fire. But the tank of the fourth man absorbed the heat before the pipes could decay. And the surge tank says every survived crisis in the Bible had a tank that expanded, because God absorbs the spike before the pipes burst. And the dismay, your surge tank just expanded. The spike was real, but the tank caught the excess, and the pipes in your life are intact, because the crisis met the tank and the relay. The surge tank says the spike passes, the tank contracts, and the system returns to normal, because the surge was absorbed, not transmitted, and the way the surge tank absorbed the spike, and the pipes held, because the tank expanded before the pressure reached the system. The surge tank, the crisis met the tank, and the system survived, because God absorbs what would burst the pipes and the rhythm. Precious spike, tank expands, the excess caught in God's hand, pipes intact, system runs. The surge tank is how God stuns. The surge tank, the spike hit, and the tank expanded, and the excess pressure was absorbed before the pipes could burst, because God catches what the system can't handle alone. The surge tank, and the God who absorbs spikes just proves that the crisis met the tank before it met the pipes, and the system survived and atoned. From every precious spike I braced for not knowing the surge tank was expanding to absorb the excess before the pipes could be overthrown. The surge tank absorbed the spike, and the pipes hold, and the crisis passed, because the tank caught what the normal system couldn't carry on its own. The surge tank, the surge tank, the surge tank. The pipes didn't burst.
Capstone is the last stone placed on the structure. It completes the building. The structure that stood incomplete for years becomes finished the moment the capstone is set. And God is placing the capstone on a structure in your life. The building has been in progress, beams rising, walls forming, but the capstone that completes it has not been set yet. The capstone says the structure was never abandoned. It was under construction, and the last stone is the one the builders have been working toward. And the debt, the stone the builders rejected, has become the capstone. And the rejected stone is the completion piece, the part that finishes what the others couldn't. And the sweat, your structure has been under construction for years. You thought it was abandoned, but the crane just lifted the capstone, and the structure completes tonight. And the reset, and the capstone says the building was never unfinished. It was incomplete, and incomplete and abandoned are not the same, because the capstone was always coming. And the bet, the stone the builders rejected has become the capstone. The completion arrives tonight, and the structure that was under construction for years receives its final stone in the light. The capstone, the last stone set on the structure, and the building that stood incomplete for years completes tonight, because the final piece arrives. The capstone, incomplete, is not abandoned, and the structure was under construction the whole time. And the capstone is the proof and the lives. The rejected stone became the capstone, and the part that finishes the building is the part that was dismissed, and that gives a capstone. And the God who places final stones just set the capstone, and the structure that looked abandoned is complete and the forgives. The capstone completed Abraham's structure, decades of incomplete building. But Isaac was the final stone, and the structure of a nation stood complete in the plan. The capstone completed Joseph's structure, 13 years of construction. But the throne was the final stone, and the structure of provision stood complete in the span. The capstone completed the church's structure, centuries of prophecy building. But the resurrection was the capstone, and the structure of salvation stood complete in the man. And the capstone says every completed structure in the Bible waited years for the final stone, because the capstone comes last, and the last is the most important in the clan. Your capstone is being placed, the crane lifts the final stone, and the structure that looked abandoned is completing, because the last piece arrives. And the capstone says the building is done, the final stone set, and the structure that stood incomplete for years is finished tonight, because the capstone is the command. The capstone, the final stone placed, and the structure complete. This building was never abandoned, it was under construction. The capstone, the rejected stone, became the completion, and the structure stands, because the capstone is the instruction. Last stone placed, structure complete, the building stands on its feet.
not abandoned, under construction. The capstone is the introduction. The capstone, the crane just set the final stone, and the structure that was under construction for years stands complete because the capstone arrived tonight. The capstone, and the God who places final stones just completed what the years were building, and the structure that looked abandoned is finished. And the might from every year of incomplete building, not knowing the capstone was being prepared, and the structure was under construction, not abandoned. And the site, the capstone set, and the building stands, and the structure completes, and the final stone is the proof that God finishes what He starts. And the light, the capstone, the capstone, the capstone, the building is complete. The building is complete.
A supernova is a dying star that explodes, and the explosion produces more light in 1 second than the star produced in its entire lifetime, because the ending is the most brilliant moment. And God is turning what feels like your ending into a supernova. The star that feels like it's dying is about to produce more light in 1 moment than all the years of steady burning and the torment. The supernova says the ending is not the darkness, the ending is the most brilliant light, because the star that dies in explosion illuminates galaxies. The steady burning never reached in the component. I am making all things new, and the new is the supernova, the explosion of the old into light so bright that the steady burning of the past can't compete. And the comment, your star feels like it's dying, the fuel running out, the light dimming, but the supernova that comes from the ending produces more brilliance than the entire lifetime of steady burning. And the moment, and the supernova says the brightest lights in the universe come from endings, because the explosion of what was into what will be produces light that reaches places the old star couldn't in any compartment. I am making all things new. The supernova explodes tonight, and the star that felt like dying just produced more light in 1 second than all the years of steady burning combined in the light. The supernova, the ending is the most brilliant moment, and the star that dies in explosion illuminates what the steady burning never reached. The supernova, more light in 1 second than a lifetime of burning, because the explosion of the old produces the brilliance that the new preached. All things new, the supernova, and the ending that felt like death is the beginning of the brightest light, because the explosion teaches the supernova, and the God who creates light from endings just detonated my dying star, and the brilliance exceeds everything the steady burning could, and the reaches. The supernova exploded at the cross. The dying of Jesus produced more light in 3 hours than all the prophets produced in centuries, because the ending was the most brilliant moment. The supernova exploded at Pentecost. The end of the waging produced more light in 1 serving than 3 years of walking, because the explosion exceeded the component. The supernova exploded for
because God creates the brightest light from the depth of what was in the ointment.
Your supernova is igniting.
The old is dying, yes, but the explosion that comes from the ending will produce more light than the entire lifetime of the old star.
And the appointment.
The supernova says the dying is the launching, and the light that comes from the explosion illuminates galaxies. The steady burning could never reach in the anointment.
The supernova.
The ending produces the brightest light because the explosion of the old launches brilliance.
The steady burning never could.
The supernova.
More light in 1 second
Than a lifetime, and the dying is the most brilliant moment that the universe understood. Star dies,
light explodes,
more brilliance,
and the old rose
1 second.
exceeds a lifetime.
The supernova is this sublime.
The supernova.
The old star just died,
The supernova.
and the explosion produced more light in 1 second than all the years of steady burning. Because the ending
The supernova.
is the most brilliant beginning,
Supernova.
and the God who creates light from endings just detonated my dying star. And the brilliance that follows illuminates galaxies I couldn't see from the spinning. From every dying season I'm more not knowing the ending was the supernova, and the explosion would produce more light in the lifetime of the steady and the winning. The supernova exploded, and the light is the brightest I have ever seen, because the ending produced what the burning never could, and the new is beginning. The supernova, the supernova. The ending is the brightest light. The slow drip fills a bucket overnight, 1 drop at a time. And the bucket that was empty at sunset is full by sunrise, because the drip never stopped, even though each drop seemed insignificant. And God has a slow drip running into your life, 1 grace at a time, 1 mercy at a time. And the bucket that felt empty is filling, because the drip is constant and significant. The slow drip says the individual drop is invisible, but the accumulation is undeniable. And the bucket that fills 1 drop at a time holds more than the bucket filled by the torrent. His mercies are new every morning, and every morning is a drop. And the bucket that receives a new drop every sunrise has been filling since the first morning in the current. Your bucket feels empty, you see the space above the water, but the water line has been rising 1 drop at a time. And the bucket is fuller than the last time you checked, and the dormant. And the slow drip says the patience of the drip exceeds the drama of the pour, because the bucket filled 1 drop at a time holds steadier than the bucket flooded by the torrent. His mercies are new every morning. The slow drip fills the night, and the bucket that receives a new drop every sunrise has been filling since the first morning in the light. The slow drip, 1 drop at a time, and the bucket that felt empty is fuller than I thought, because the drip never stopped, even when I wasn't watching. The slow drip, each drop invisible, but the accumulation undeniable. And the water line rose while I was focused on the space above, and the botching new mercies, the drip. And every morning was a drop
drop, and the bucket has been filling since the first sunrise. And the matching, the slow drip, and the God who fills by drip, not pour, just showed me the water line. And the bucket is almost full, and the catching, the slow drip filled Abraham, one promise at a time, over 25 years. And the bucket of a nation was full by the time Isaac arrived, and was filled. The slow drip filled David, one psalm at a time, over decades. And the bucket of worship was full by the time the temple was designed. And the slow drip filled the early church, one convert at a time, over years. And the bucket of global faith was full by the time the empire noticed, and the will. And the slow drip says the most full buckets in the Bible were filled one drop at a time, 'cause the drip that never stops exceeds the pour that does. And the skill, your drip has been running drop after drop, morning after morning. And the bucket is fuller than the day you last checked, because the drip didn't stop. And the thrill, the slow drip says keep receiving one drop at a time. And the bucket that fills by the drip holds more than the bucket that waits for the flood. And the mill, the slow drip, one drop at a time. And the bucket fills because the drip never stops. The slow drip, the accumulation of mornings exceeds the drama of the pour, and the crop is top. One drop, then another, the bucket fills like no other. Not the pour, but the drip. The slow drip never skips a trip. The slow drip, the bucket is almost full, and every morning was a drop. The accumulation of daily mercies exceeded what the one-time pour could provide. The slow drip, and the God who fills by the drip just showed me the water line. And the bucket that I called empty was filling while I cried. From every empty bucket I stared at, not knowing the drip was running and the water line was rising, one drop at a time. And the pride, slow drip, filled the bucket, and the water is there, and every drop was a mercy. And the accumulation is the proof that the drip never lied. The slow drip, the slow drip, one drop at a time.
The tuning fork vibrates at one exact frequency. Strike it and the note is pure, and every instrument in the room that is tuned to that frequency begins to vibrate in response without being touched. And God is the tuning fork of your life. He vibrates at one frequency, and the parts of you that are tuned to his frequency respond without effort, because the resonance is untouched. The tuning fork says the response is not forced. The instrument vibrates because it was tuned to the frequency. And the parts that don't respond are the parts that need retuning. And the clutch, be still and know that I am God. And the knowing is the vibration. The tuning fork strikes, and the parts of me tuned to the frequency respond without effort. And the crutch, your tuning fork just struck. You can feel the vibration. The chest responds before the mind, because the spirit was tuned to the frequency.
before the logic and the touch.
And the tuning fork says the vibration you feel is recognition. Your spirit recognizing the frequency. It was tuned to before birth,
And the response is the proof of the match.
be still and know
The tuning fork vibrates tonight.
and the parts of me tuned to the frequency of God.
Just responded without effort.
Because the resonance is in the light.
The tuning fork
Struck and the parts tuned to the frequency
respond without being touched.
because the resonance is the recognition. The tuning fork
The vibration,
I feel in my chest is my spirit recognizing
the frequency.
it was tuned to before birth and the condition.
Be still and know
The tuning fork and the response without effort is the proof that the instrument was tuned
tuned to the maker's
frequency and the tradition. The
tuning fork.
and the God who vibrates at one frequency just struck, and the parts of me that are tuned responded, and the recognition is the mission. The tuning fork struck in the upper room. The rushing wind was the frequency, and the 120 vibrated because they were tuned to the spirit and the tone. The tuning fork struck at the burning bush. The flame was the frequency, and Moses' spirit vibrated because he was tuned to the call before the zone. The tuning fork struck on the road to Damascus. The light was the frequency, and Paul's spirit vibrated because even the persecutor was tuned to the frequency he had known. And the tuning fork says every awakened life in the Bible responded to a frequency
Because the spirit was tuned before the mind understood and shown.
Your tuning fork is vibrating. The frequency struck, and the parts of you that respond are the parts that were tuned before your first breath and the groan. The tuning fork says the vibration
Is the invitation.
respond to the frequency, and the life that aligns with the tuning fork produces the purest sound and the tone. The tuning fork
Struck and the spirit responds.
because the tuning preceded the striking.
And the recognition
It's the proof. The tuning fork, the frequency is God, and the response is
the spirit
and the resonance
is the truth.
and the roof strike the fork.
The note rings true
The spirit responds,
to what it always knew.
tuned before birth.
Recognize now,
The tuning fork,
takes its bow.
the tuning fork struck tonight, and my spirit responded before my mind.
Because the tuning happened before birth.
And the frequency is the recognition of the maker. The tuning fork and the God who vibrates at one pure frequency
Just struck
and the parts of me aligned with his note responded
without effort. And the breaker
from every silence where I couldn't feel God, not knowing my tuning was off, and the fork was waiting to strike, and the shaker, the tuning fork
struck and the spirit vibrates.
and the resonance is the proof that I was tuned
To the frequency
of God before the world acted static, and the acre,
the tuning fork.
the tuning fork,
That tuning fork.
the frequency is God.
An oxygen line delivers breathable air to the patient who can't breathe on their own. The tube connects the source to the lungs, and the air that flows is the difference between life and death. And God connected an oxygen line to your spirit. The lungs of your faith were failing,
but the tube connected to the source. And the air that flows is the breath of God and the breath. The oxygen line says you don't need to produce the air. The source produces it, and the tube delivers what the lungs can't generate on their own. And the depth, he breathed into him the breath of life, and the breathing is the oxygen line. The connection between the source and the lungs that delivers what the patient cannot create in the breath. Your lungs were failing, the faith felt thin, the hope felt shallow, but the oxygen line connected, and the air from the source filled what the lungs couldn't produce on their own. And the depth, and the oxygen line says breathe. The air is not yours to produce. The source sends and the tube delivers, and the lungs receive, and the breath comes from outside, not inside. And the well, he breathed into him the breath of life. The oxygen line delivers tonight, and the air that fills my lungs is from the source, not from my effort, because the tube connects in the light. The oxygen line connected to the source, and the air that flows, the breath of God filling lungs that couldn't produce their own air. The oxygen line, the tube delivers what the patient can't create, and the breathing is the receiving, not the manufacturing. And the prayer, we breathe life. The oxygen line, and the connection between the source and my lungs is the tube that carries what I need and the care. The oxygen line, and the God who breathes just connected the tube, and the air flows, and the lungs that were failing are filling. And the fair, the oxygen line connected to Adam, the breath of God filled the dust, and the lungs that had no air received the first breath from the source. And the stars, the oxygen line connected to the valley of dry bones. The breath of God filled the bones, and the army that was dead breathed, because the source sent the air. And the heart, the oxygen line connected to the disciples. The breath of Jesus said, receive the Holy Spirit. And the lungs of the church filled, because the source exhaled. And the art and the oxygen line says every living thing in the Bible received the breath from the source, because the lungs don't produce the air, the source does. And the cart, your oxygen line is flowing, the tube is connected, and the air from the source fills what your own lungs couldn't generate. And the smart, the oxygen line says breathe, receive. The air is from the source, and the lungs that were failing are filling, because the tube delivers what comes from God's heart. The oxygen line connected, and the air flows from the source to the lungs, because the breath is God's, not mine. The oxygen line, the tube delivers, and the lungs receive, and the breathing is the gift, not the grind. And the vine, source breathes, tube delivers, lungs receive, God gives shivers, not my air, but his breath. The oxygen line conquers death. The oxygen line, the tube is connected, and the air from the source fills my lungs, and the breathing that keeps me alive is his breath, not my production. The oxygen line, the God who breathes just exhaled through the tube, and the lungs that were failing are full, because the air comes from the source. And the function from every shallow breath I took, thinking I had to produce the air, not knowing the oxygen line was connected, and the source was breathing for me. And the junction, the oxygen line delivers, and the lungs fill, and the breath is God's, and the living continues, because the source never stops exhaling. And the unction, the oxygen line, the oxygen line, the oxygen line, the source
breeze for me.
Hibernation is not death. It is survival at the lowest energy. The bear shuts down non-essential functions, and the heartbeat drops to 5 beats per minute. But the body is alive, and the season. And God has you in hibernation. The energy is low, the functions are minimal, but the survival mode is not death. It is the conservation that outlasts the freezing season. The hibernation says the slowing down is the design. The body that hibernates outlives the body that tries to run through the winter, because the conservation exceeds the reason. Be still and know that I am God, and the stillness is the hibernation, the shutdown of non-essential functions that conserves the energy for the spring season. Your hibernation feels like death. The heartbeat is faint, the movement is minimal, but the body is alive, and the conservation is the survival, not the treason. And the hibernation says the spring is coming, the warming will happen, and the body that hibernated through the winter emerges with stored energy that the active body spent, and the lesion. Be still and know the hibernation conserves tonight, and the body that shuts down for the winter emerges in spring with active body spent. In the light of hibernation, not death but survival at the lowest energy, and the body that conserves through the winter outlasts the body that runs through it. The slowing down is the design, and the spring that follows the winter finds a body rested and stored, and it's legit. Be still, the hibernation and the shutdown of non-essential functions is the wisdom that outlasts the winter, because conservation exceeds the grit. The hibernation and the God who designed seasons just said the winter is for conservation, not for running, and the spring finds the rested body fit. The hibernation preserved Elijah, but gave the bread the sleep. Non-essential functions shut down, and the prophet emerged with energy for the next assignment. And the spring, the hibernation preserved Israel and Egypt, 400 years of conservation. Non-essential functions minimal, and the nation emerged with stored energy for the conquering. The hibernation preserved Jesus in the tomb, 3 days of the lowest function, and the emergence on the 3rd day was the spring that changed the world and the offering. And the hibernation says every powerful emergence in the Bible followed a conservation period, because the body that hibernates stores what the active body spends. And the ring, your hibernation is ending, the warming has begun, and the body that conserved through the winter is about to emerge with more energy than the active season could bring. The hibernation says the spring is here, the heartbeat rises, and the stored energy from the conservation period exceeds what the running through winter would
could have produced. And the swing, the hibernation, the conservation is ending, and the spring emergence carries stored energy. The hibernation, not death but survival, and the spring that follows finds the rested body ready. And the event, heartbeat low, body rests, the winter passes, conservation's best. Spring arrives, energy stored. The hibernation is from the Lord. The hibernation, the winter just ended, and the body that conserved through the cold did more energy than active body could have stored, because the rest was the design. The hibernation, and the God who designed winter just said the conservation period is over, and the spring that follows. The hibernation is the most powerful emergence in the sign. From every low energy season I thought was death, not knowing the hibernation was conservation, and the spring would find me rested in the shrine. The hibernation ends and the spring arrives, and the stored energy exceeds what the running produced, because the body that rested through the winter is ready and defined. The hibernation, the hibernation, the spring is here.
The open horizon is the view after the last mountain. The traveler climbs the final ridge and sees the land stretching endlessly before them. No obstacles, just open space. And God just brought you to the open horizon. The mountains are behind, the climbing is done, and the view from the ridge is the widest you've ever seen. And the grace, the open horizon says the mountains were not the destination, they were the path to the view. And the view from the top exceeds what the valley floor could ever trace. I know the plans I have for you, plans for a hope and a future. And the future is the open horizon, the view after the climbing that stretches without limit. And the embrace, your last mountain is behind you,
The ridge is under your feet,
and the horizon that opens before you is wider than any view. The valley offered and the pace, and the open horizon says look forward.
the mountains trained you,
The climbing strengthened you, but the view is the reason you climb. And the space is the place, plans for a hope and a future.
the open horizon stretches tonight,
And the view from the last ridge is the widest I've ever seen, because the climbing is done and the landscape opens in the light. The open horizon, the last mountain is behind, and the view from the ridge stretches endlessly, because the climbing brought me to the widest view of my life. The open horizon, the mountains were the path, not the destination, and the view from the top exceeds what the valley could see. And the strife, plans for a future, the horizon,
the open space before me is the future God planned.
because the climbing was the preparation for the night. The open horizon, and the God who led me over mountains just brought me to the ridge, and the view that opens is wider than anything I've known in my life. The open horizon appeared for Abraham. The mountains of waiting climbed, and the ridge revealed a nation stretching in every direction, and the miles,
The open horizon appeared for Joshua. The mountains of the wilderness climbed, and the ridge revealed the promised land stretching without limit. And the trials turned to smiles. The open horizon appeared for the disciples. The mountain of the cross climbed, and the ridge of the resurrection revealed the mission, stretching to the ends of the earth and the isles. And the open horizon says every white view in the Bible appeared after the last mountain, because the climbing is the path to the panorama and the files. Your horizon is open, the ridge is under your feet, and the land that stretches before you is the future the climbing prepared you for. And the style, the open horizon says breathe the view, the mountains are behind, and the widest landscape of your life is the one that opens after the last climb. And the world, the open horizon, the mountains are behind, and the view stretches without limit, because the climbing brought me to the widest landscape. The open horizon, the valley couldn't see this view, but the ridge reveals it, and the future is the open space. Last mountain climb, ridge under feet, the horizon open, where earth and sky meet. No more climbing, just the view. The open horizon is something new. The open horizon, the last mountain is behind me, and the view from the ridge stretches farther than I've ever seen, because the climbing brought me to the panorama, the open horizon. And the God who led me over every mountain just brought me to the ridge, and the landscape that opens is the future He planned, and the drama from every mountain I climbed, thinking the climbing was the light, not knowing the ridge would reveal the widest view, and the horizon is the karma. The open horizon stretches and the future opens. The mountains are behind, and the view from the ridge is the most beautiful landscape.